In my opinion, in order to be successful, you have to have a flexible platform that can allow physicians to come in a manner that they see fit. Some physicians are one or two physician practices. They will never have the infrastructure to be able to have care managers and stuff. And so you have to recognize that and build around them. Others are groups of 50 to 100 physicians, and they want to take risk. And so we have financial models where we could subcapitate them, and we can give them the reporting that they need and give them a little bit of support.
Welcome to A&M Healthcare Industry Group's What's Your Moonshot podcast series, where leaders seek to solve big problems and transform healthcare. Join us for conversations to hear how their vision and bold moonshots are becoming reality.
Welcome, Dr. Nishant. How are you? Joined today with A&M Senior Advisor, Ninth Secretary of the VA, and really appreciate you coming back and joining us. It's been 2 years, and we wanted to spend some time to see how the progression has worked with Altais and how you've been able to navigate, what's been some challenging waters as of late when it comes to delivering, physician-led, value-based, highly engaged care.
No, it's a privilege to be here with both of you again. 2 years, man, time is flying. In some ways it seems very fast, and other times there's a lot that's happened out there, but a lot of good things in industry.
So last time you were talking to us about your strategy of a population health strategy and taking risk and bending the cost quality curve. Tell us what's happened in the last 2 years.
Yeah, a lot of progress and heightened sense of urgency. There are the two things. What I'm very, very proud of is, we have consistently performed at minimum well managed, either at or below minimum well managed for a commercial and Medicare Advantage book of business, which a lot of people, that's a feat that they aspire to get to. So we're starting to figure out this affordability curve where we have clinical programs that focus on everything from end of life care so that people can die with dignity, respect, surrounded by their loved ones instead of in a hospital where they may not get that support that they need, all the way down to pharmaceutical programs where we can actually help people instead of getting an infusion, that can be replaced with an oral agent. So it's been a great journey for us. That all being said, we're seeing a lot of instability in the Medicare Advantage market right now, and potentially obviously the exchange population as well. And so there's some headwinds we're facing.
So are you saying that you're not seeing the large increase in MLR that everyone else is seeing? Why we're seeing insurers pull out of Medicare Advantage?
Medical loss ratio, by definition, includes the revenue side and the expense side. So our side, on the expense side, I feel very comfortable that we've been able to manage the utilization. Now, are there unit cost increases because of pricing for pharmaceutical and others? Yes. The biggest change I've seen and the industry has seen is the star ratings have started to drop. There was a time and period where everyone was at a 4-star and above, and that's dropped. The second thing is with the implementation of the new risk adjustment models, that's caused some significant pressure on there. So I think on the side of affordability and getting the right clinical care for folks, we feel pretty comfortable. I think there's some opportunity on the revenue side for all of us.
So, one of the things we've noted is, obviously it's been well publicized, some of the at-scale platforms. Some went to bankruptcy, some have been in divestiture and, or may I say fire sale.
Yeah.
But Altais has been, durable. What are some of the other things have done? And just, how you do it is. So can you talk about, is it your patient mix? Is it your focus? How have you been able to be as durable as you have?
Yeah, well, thank you for saying those kind of words. I think it's a couple of things. One, we've diversified our revenue stream and our business segments into 3 areas. We have a risk-bearing business, which is where traditional insurance dynamics play out. 2 is we have a tremendously improved physician medical group, and that's really helped us. And 3rd is we have a services arm that provides services both internally as well as externally to organizations. And so one part of it might not be doing as well as the other, but that diversification actually helps us quite a bit. We've also diversified across geographies. So Northern California may be feeling pressures, but Southern California may not. Arizona and other markets are also there too. So we've been able to do that. 2 is we are focused on continually improving our administrative kind of efficiency. And as we do that, we can become more efficient and we can use that that funding to basically invest in the future.
Excellent.
So obviously everybody is searching for a solution in healthcare to make care accessible, affordable, improve quality. Do you feel, even with all the struggles of others in your industry who have focused on this sort of management and better care and holding costs down, do you feel that that's the answer for the country, that we need to see more models like yours, that ultimately, if you think out 5 or 10 years, we're going to see the country organize into systems of care like yours?
Absolutely. When you bring the payer and the financial integration with the clinical models, that's where true success happens. And the problem is, you alluded to it, both of you alluded to it, some folks have actually gone too quickly with clinical transformation, and then they faced the pressures of it. Some have focused on the financial transformation, and the clinical models weren't ready, and their costs skyrocketed. And so because we've kind of been able to kind of find that in between, that pacing, that adequate pacing, I think that's what's helped us, as we've kind of gone along.
So I'm going to go off script a minute, and you're in a unique geography, right? You're in the Bay Area of California. Maybe some would claim that's the birthplace of people who created value-based care, right? The system. How do you handle the health systems aspect of the integrated care and the patient engagement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's been fascinating. We have obviously several large health systems, not just in the Bay Area, but across the country that we work with. And there's been this increasing acceptance that they have to have also a diversified portfolio. So you have fee-for-service revenue if you're a health system. You also have to go towards upstream, towards a capitated or prepayment model. And so we've been in discussions with for-profit, nonprofit entities in California and outside of California. And a couple things are leading them in this direction. One is the cost of physician employment is getting unsustainable. So different CEOs that I speak with say that they lose sometimes between $250,000 for every primary care physician, and up to or above $500,000 for every specialist. That's a sustainability issue. Two is having the skills and capabilities to be able to manage risk is not always there. Everyone wants to do it, but that takes investment, and that's something that we bring to the table. So I think there's this increasing awareness and comfort with now partnering with individuals and folks like us.
I'm trying to understand whether you have quantitative information that the model that you're talking about is actually either bending the cost curve or has better patient engagement rates, whether there's evidence, because it seems to me that there aren't many succeeding in your area. And that's surprising to me.
Yeah, I think the key is you have to lead with numbers and then follow with a story behind it. So, if I look at just specific factors, when I look at the Milliman Well Managed, we use that as a benchmark. I actually presented it to a health plan senior executive, and their team tells them it's not possible. Well, it's possible. And you can do it just by having the right people, getting the right care at the right time. Two is we measure Net Promoter Score. We know that it's important, as well as retention of our members that we see, and our Net Promoter Scores are in the 70s. For healthcare, that may seem lower than others, but that's pretty darn high. And we're just getting started on the digital engagement, which I think will help that even more. When you look at quality scores and you look at improvement in the things that matter, the focus on short-term outcomes isn't as important, in my opinion, as a physician, as longitudinal outcomes. So did that diabetic end up actually developing complications? And we're, it's still going to take more time for us to develop those outcomes. But those are all the indicators that we look at, both as a leading as well as over time, to show that we can get there.
Let me just use this as an example. Let's take the GLP-1 drugs, right? Because you talk about the short-term, long-term gain, right? So, and again, this is just my view, physician to physician. Short-term, you're going to see large increases in your pharmaceutical costs, and that's obviously putting a lot of pressure on plans and at-risk groups. But long-term, with its reduction of metabolic disease and cardiovascular and stroke, that's where you may see those savings. So how do you manage a dilemma like that?
Well, we saw this before, right, with the hepatitis C drug.
Yeah.
I remember about a decade ago they came out, and it was, I think, I forget the exact amounts, but it was maybe like $80,000 in 1 year.
Yeah, we were paying close to that at VA.
Yep,
Sure.
Yeah.
exactly. And then over time, people didn't develop the complications, which was cirrhosis or life-threatening liver failure. Well, I think that the same thing applies. What I think is still needing to be fine-tuned, who are the right people to actually benefit from it? Because just like with any medication and in a culture that wants quick fixes, you can get people who are going to, and this is not a judgment, but people who are getting married and they may want to do it. People are going on vacation, they may want to take that medication to lose some weight. In that situation, I'd say that's an increase to the system, maybe a choice. In other instances, you're right. There's a short-term cost increase, but the longer-term benefit is what shows up. And that's why I think we've really, as an industry, got to focus on health outcomes over time. Because if it costs you money now, but you save in 6 years, that's a benefit to everybody.
So one of the challenges also that's happened with some of the other physician-led at-risk primary care is how do you align the physicians, and whether they're in an independent physician model or an employed physician model. And 2 years ago, we had asked you some questions about how do you really keep the physicians aligned.
Yeah.
What does that look like 2 years later and forward, and how are you evolving that?
Yeah, a lot of dinners, a lot of meetings, and a lot of face-to-face. I think, all joking aside, you have, in my opinion, in order to be successful, you have to have a flexible platform that can allow physicians to come in a manner that they see fit. So some physicians are one or two physician practices. They will never have the infrastructure to be able to have care managers and stuff. And so you have to recognize that and build around them. Others are groups of 50 to 100 physicians, and they want to take risk. And so we have financial models where we could subcapitate them and we can give them the reporting that they need and give them a little bit of support. We have health systems, like we were talking about earlier. Health systems have a lot of resources, but they don't always have the skill or the true capabilities. Some do, but in some examples they don't. And so our model has been flexible. It takes more time. We can't go and acquire group after group after group to do that. That's not our strategy and our approach. And you even seeing Optum now is starting to divest of that strategy. And so ours is more thoughtful. It's geographically based. We're looking to get concentration.
And as you begin to think about how rapidly technology is coming, you mentioned, the digital engagement tools related to Net Promoter, but as you're thinking about it as a way of improving workflow, improving the care management type of tools, how much are you investing now, and how much are you waiting to see what actually pans out to be real?
Yeah, we're all in. So we have to be thoughtful and prudent. So we're never going to supersede clinical judgment. So we have our lines of what we will do and what we want to do. Clinical judgment and compassion are not going to be replaced by technology. But outside of that, artificial intelligence has been a game changer for us. We deployed ambient listening to our physicians, and we found out that their connections with their patients were more empathetic. So instead of documenting, they're focused on the therapeutic relationship. We started a program on prior authorization. Instead of trying to read 300 pages of documentation to determine if it's correct or not, we started saying, let's summarize that. Let's not focus on that, but is it the right care for the right person at the right time? And that's where our clinical care managers are both happier and there. So I've challenged our team and said, let's just put our whole platform as to be tech enabled, but let's not do it like from the beginning. You can't design a system in healthcare, in my opinion, from start to scratch, from beginning to end by itself. And so we're taking the key friction points and we're focusing. So prior auth, we're going to keep pushing the limits on there, the physician ambient dictation, and we're using NLP to read documentation and provide those summaries like I mentioned. But we're going to do everything from a contract, the minute a contract is signed, we're going to digitize that information and then go all the way down to what the pharmacist is doing to have that information available. And that's truly where we can bend that cost curve, especially around the administrative waste.
Excellent. So, as we come towards the end of this discussion, we touched on different aspects of the stakeholders. How's it working having a parent who's a large payer, influential payer?
Yeah, just for those who may not know, Altais was founded as a subsidiary of Blue Shield of California back in 2019. And what's come of that this year, as we've kind of matured, there's a new nonprofit parent company that was formed called Ascendian. Now, Ascendian, what it allows us to do is actually fulfill our mission. So we have Blue Shield of California, which is a great payer, has almost 5 million members. That becomes an environment where you can transform the payer side. Altais can actually focus on making sure the delivery system can keep up, being both a payer and a provider and a services organization. We can kind of take all of that. And now we have a third company called Stellaris that can bring forth that technology innovation that can help us. So I think it's a strength. And especially, when we were a subsidiary of Blue Shield of California, we had to really focus on kind of what we were doing, what Blue Shield's doing. Now we have this ability, having a nonprofit parent company called Ascendian that can actually bring the best of all three of those worlds together to transform healthcare.
Excellent.
Well, we really enjoyed catching up with you and hope you'll come back in 2 years and tell us what's new and how you're doing.
Yeah.
Congratulations on all the progress you've done.
Yeah. No, thank you both. I appreciate it. And I think 2 years is a long time. Maybe we'll catch up before then. But it's it's an exciting time in healthcare right now. And I think we just have to be very thoughtful. We have to be intentional, and we have to lead with compassion. So I appreciate both your time.
Well,
thank you.
Doctor, thanks for spending time with us today. We value your time, and we valued your relationship, and from time to time even working with you to see your mission through. So thank you.
For sure. Thank you.
Alvarez and Marcel. Leadership, action, results.